Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about the Supreme Court's opinion in the USAID case. It's an actual opinion. They did it on their emergency docket. A district court had a motion in front of it to stop the order that Trump had entered that basically said don't pay out any more money for foreign aid to USAID. And the court said, that doesn't look to me to be kosher and consistent with the law. This is what Congress has allocated. It's a really cross-cutting theme in so much of what Trump is doing, just taking the commands that Congress has settled on and ignoring them. So this is one. Here's this money you're supposed to pay out. And by the way, it's to folks, by the way, 2 points. First, it's to folks who sort of need it urgently, have come to depend on it. There are these anecdotes, both the companies that get some of the money and the end clients that they serve, and really harrowing details about people in medical treatment and the like. So that's one thing to point out. And the second is administration after administration until Donald Trump has always found this is in the United States interest. But it's part of what Trump is doing, sort of throwing in his lot with Putin and the despots and axis of evil in the world, to abandon this effort, which is a relatively small part of our overall tax dollars, but does very much to incentivize other nations to think of us as the good guys and to play, along with us when they're also getting besieged by, for example, China to do the same. Okay. Anyway, Trump cuts it off, and then on February 13th, that's going to matter, not February 25th, but February 13th, the district court says, look, I'm going to grant an injunction here because I think you're going to win plaintiffs. He really violated Congress, and there's other constitutional problems as well. I think you're going to win. And the balance of equities seems to me go with you. You have these people who are really being harmed every day. And that's just continued, by the way. And just, we're told in the last couple of days, a contracting entity had to lay off 110,000 employees because there's just no money flowing through USAID. Anyway, the district court enters that order, and for 2 weeks, administration kind of does nothing. There's a very tense hearing where the hapless DOJ lawyer, it's tough to be a DOJ lawyer these days. They throw you in there and don't tell you exactly what's going on or what legal claims you're supposed to make. And this lawyer was obviously flat-footed and said, I'm not sure, and we'll tell you at the next status conference. So it was at that point that the district court said, I don't like this. I entered an order 2 weeks ago. I want you to comply in 36 hours. I want you, all the order says is pay up money you already owe because it's under contracts that were due and needed to be and we're complete by February 13th when I first entered the order. Okay, at that point, the administration runs crying to the DC Circuit, and then the U.S. Supreme Court saying emergency, emergency, emergency. What's the emergency? They've been given very little time to comply, and there's a lot of money involved, $2 billion, say. And if they have to do it so quickly, they might make some mistakes and send it out to people who aren't supposed to get it. Well, the obvious response to that is maybe you could have complied starting on the 13th when the court ordered you to. Oh, and by the way, this order isn't really a normal kind of thing that a higher court can review. All that's happened here is the district court has entered an order to support its previous order. That's what's up on the 25th, and that's the order that's went to the Supreme Court. Okay, so today, it's been another week during which harm occurred on the ground, as I mentioned, for example, the one company that had to fire over 100,000 people. But we now know why it took the Supreme Court a week. Roberts, who's just the guy who oversees anything from this court, and so he just put things on hold in an administrative stay. They then voted, and basically the holding of the 5 members of the Supreme Court is, we deny your motion for a stay. You don't get a stay. There's really no explanation. This is all part of the emergency docket, which is overused, especially by this administration, and that's a problem. But for another day, I have written about that in my Substack. Anyway, the court just, it does say, it doesn't, in so many words order it, but you can read between the lines, and not really even between the lines, know that they're saying, district court, lighten up a little bit. Actually get them to explain to you what's practicable for them to immediately comply with and what isn't. And maybe be a little bit more thoughtful. Now, in theory, in order to do that, they had to uphold the district court and have jurisdiction over the case. They did. They basically agree with the district court, and now it just goes to a trial on an injunction. The district court, the way it works, enters one and then continues on to say, here's the whole proof and witnesses and everything to decide who deserves, do the plaintiffs deserve to basically freeze this. And that would be the end of the matter as far as the district court's concerned. Then it would go up to the Court of Appeals and then potentially the Supreme Court. I still want to talk about, however, the dissent by Alito, joined by Gorsuch, yes, Thomas, yes, and Kavanaugh. In other words, 4 votes, the same 4 that voted, even though I thought there was not a legal leg to stand on, that the conviction in the New York courts against Trump should somehow be ruled out. And what Alito said, I mean, it's very sort of, on the one hand, technical, fine-grained legal arguments. Maybe this order, which the district court is calling just an adjunct to its temporary restraining order, we really should think of it instead as a preliminary injunction because it's indefinite, and then we could get at it. Or maybe there's no sovereign immunity waiver here because this is really about paying out under a contract, whereas the plaintiffs say, no, it isn't. It's about just fulfilling your obligations and not violating the Administrative Procedures Act by acting arbitrarily and capriciously. That's what this is about, and you don't need jurisdiction is fine there. So Alito, on the one hand, makes these technical legal arguments opposing, but on the other, both at the beginning and the end, he's got a really kind of histrionic and exercise tone. He ends the first paragraph of his opinion by saying he's stunned that the court has done this. He ends the whole opinion by basically making it sound like the district court has acted improperly, just kind of boom, got in its mitts on the $2 billion and ordered the U.S. to pay it, even though they might not get it back. And why not? Because they don't deserve it. It's money they already owe, but maybe they'll make a mistake because they're moving so quickly. So the kinds of things that support a dissenting opinion, which he makes, are fairly technical and fine-grained and speculative, but I think it really matters that at the beginning and the end, he really lays it on thick about how the sky is falling. And I think what that means is these other cases that are working their way up to the Supreme Court, they're likely going to have a kind of immediate, and I would say 4 votes now. Kavanaugh has, 2 times staked his claim with the other 3 on pretty dubious, I think, claims by Trump. So I think we're going to start at 4, making it the whole focus, what will Roberts do, or possibly Barrett. So on the one hand, they push back against the administration. They uphold what the district court has done here. On the other hand, 4 of them are ready not to, and are talking in pretty dyspeptic and pronounced terms about how stunned they are and the like. And that suggests that future battles could be real Donniebrooks in the Supreme Court, and they I'll just have to pluck off one, probably Chief Justice Roberts, in order to make the whole thing go in the other way. So in that sense, pretty good result, good thing, because, USAID is important to us in a geopolitical way, but also the law makes it clear. Congress, and this is something the Trump administration has put into the test again and again and again. The law makes it clear that you can't simply just ignore Congress's command. So all that's good. On the other hand, I'm left somewhat uneasy about how the Supreme Court will go in subsequent cases when it seems they'll have as strong or stronger claims that the administration is ignoring congressional commands. And will there be 5 votes to say, oh, they can do it anyway? Looks like there are 4. And so, it's not so, it's too close for comfort, I guess is the way I would put it. Some colleagues I greatly respect feel the other way, say, hey, look, they stuck up for the challengers as against the lawless action of the administration. And it's a good thing they did, but I think the claim's fairly strong. And I think the claim in the New York case was extremely strong. And nevertheless, it still drew 4 votes, the same 4 votes today. So, decent result, which I hope is pretty clearly explained now, but a little bit of worry about the disputes we're going to see down the line and in the future. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.